there's been, I think, some hot topics here around. We're getting into one of those conversations on CT, at least again, around good for ETH, bad for ETH. You've got a lot of large companies, corporations, and even crypto adjacent teams announcing like new L1s that maybe are EVM based, but perhaps surprising that they're not, rollups or L2s specifically. The Stripe paradigm, Tempo Chain. You've got Circle with, I think it's Arc. There's been several other recently in the past, maybe weeks to months. Curious your guys' takes on, what are your thoughts here? Maybe just open it up, like, if you want to hop into is this bullish, bearish ETH, or just what this means for like the L1 versus L2 relationship? What do we think this means kind of going forward, and how are we thinking about it?
Yeah, I'm happy to open the floor here, although I'm already looking forward to all the other spicy takes. So yeah, from my end, first of all, I'm Louis. I'm the co-founder of Gelato, and we have been running various services on EVM chains. Originally Ethereum, like 6 years ago, I think we started the project. But we're also very much known for our rollup as a service offering, powering chains like Kraken's Ink chain that's running on Gelato, Raya chain that's a perp DEX, Open Campus, Arena Z. We have a bunch of these chains, and we deployed these chains into production for 2 years now, and we gathered a lot of information on how our real customers and their users actually using rollup technology. What are they doing on their chains? What do they care about? I would say the way I read this Stripe L1, Circle's Arc L1, Google's L1 or whatever, is in reality, L2s are ready-ish, but they're also not really ready. At least not in the original way that they were meant to work and were envisioned by Ethereum. And back in the day, L2s were meant to inherit Ethereum security. That was the whole point. Ethereum came to the conclusion that the L1 alone wouldn't scale for the world's use cases, for the Stripe payment chain or whatnot. So I think Ethereum is already very much better positioned than a chain like Solana to actually deal with the fact that there's huge companies with their own use cases that want to build chains like Stripe, right? Like Stripe launching their payments thing on Solana would be really, I think, no one is even considering that. But they could have launched an Ethereum L2 and they didn't, right? And why did they decide to go with their own L1? I mean, best would be to ask them themselves, but I'm sure they will put out some statements. My own personal take is, sure, there's always like an L1 premium type thing. I think there's a lot of projects considering L1s because they think it will pump their token or valuations more. There's some truth to that. I don't think that's a major factor for Stripe. We all know that they're like a private company that wants to stay private and for as long as possible, probably. So who knows? Maybe they have some degen token play there. Paradigm is involved, so I'm sure there's some token play as well. But I don't think so much, to be honest, that's the major factor. I think I could imagine that they want to build something huge here. I think they want to shake up the world. And right now, having a centralized single sequencer server is not really that big. I mean, Base has been killing it. Coinbase has been killing it on their server. But I think Stripe is thinking bigger than that. And in reality, you can't really do that today so well with Ethereum because we currently lack the technological maturity of rollup-based sequencing technology. We lack the technological maturity of native rollups. So we still have single sequencers, like single boxes servers, like Arbitrum, Coinbase, many of the chains that we are running, Gelato chains, like a single sequencer boxes. That's very different from what Ethereum is, right? And I think Stripe's aspiration is to be similar to what Ethereum is. And but for payments, right? And we still have security councils and multi-sigs securing our L2s. So that is also not Ethereum, right? Ethereum is not a multi-sig. It's a network of validators, right? And I think Stripe, even though they start fairly centralized, what I found really bullish, I think in general was very bullish that they are launching a chain for payments. That's usually bullish for the space. That's 100% PMF for blockchains for global payments. That's so sick. But what I was also bullish on in their announcement is that they put in there that they said that they want to become permissionless at some point and progressively decentralized, which just means is that they want to become like Ethereum. But they can't because there's no base sequencing, like at least not at scale in production readiness today. There's no native rollups. There are no native rollups today. So they would have to opt for a single server box. They would have to opt for multi-sig and smart contract upgradability. And last but not least, ZK is, we have Leland here from Succinct. ZK, I think, is also really what was missing from Ethereum rollups. The big ones today, Arbitrum-based, they all have optimistic fraud proofs. And that just means their settlement times are insanely slow, 7-day windows. And that is, very far removed. I mean, Ethereum is mocked for being slow, but like if you look at an L2 through the lens of how close is it to Ethereum, 7 days is definitely much slower than Ethereum is, right? So I think this combination of the lack currently, Ethereum's lack of base sequencing, base pre-confirmation technology, its lack of native rollup technology to supplant the need for different sort of proof system implementations and multi-sigs guarding them, and the lack of ZK and Ethereum rollups is like this trifactum is essentially really isn't positioning Ethereum as a very strong candidate for a Stripe L2 if their ambition is to be global decentralized permissionless right now. That's just, we have to be honest to ourselves as Ethereums. But the good news is we can very much get there, and we've seen the first wave of rollups. They've built some great technology, and now it's time for wave 2. I'm sure many rollups will update, like many of the current day rollups like Arbitrum, they will also participate in phase 2. We've seen this announcement. Congrats, by the way, Leland, that Succinct is working with Arbitrum on a ZK version. Who would have thought? So the good news is we can get Ethereum to a stage where Stripe would have launched on there, but we're simply not there yet today.